Welcome back to the Combine here in Indianapolis, and one of my dear friends in the business, my buddy Joe Cullen, the Super Bowl winning defensive line coach of the Kansas City Chiefs. How you doing, man?
Great, Frank, and great to be on the air, and appreciate you having me on.
We miss you in Jacksonville, but I'm glad you got a ring. That had to be some experience, man.
No, yeah, my family and I, we love Jacksonville. In fact, we still have our home down there in Ponte Vedra, but the opportunity that, with not knowing, having the opportunity to go with Coach Reed and the Kansas City Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes, Chris Jones, Steve Spagnuolo was too good to pass up, and knew we'd have an opportunity to at least play for the Super Bowl and have a fighting chance. And then with the way the season went, just excited the way it all unfolded.
Yeah, Chris Jones' good play is all because of good defensive line coaching, right? is that what that is?
I say this, Frank, and people have asked me. I can't coach what Chris has, but I tell you, he's a guy that really bought into what we were trying to teach and just came to work every day. He never missed a practice. There was one death in the family. He had to go to a funeral. His aunt had passed away, and he went on a Friday. But other than that, he never missed a rep in practice, never missed a training camp practice, and he was on a mission.
Is he one of the best you've ever coached? I mean, he's 15 sacks from a down lineman.
Yeah, absolutely. I've had some good ones over the years. Terrell Suggs, and I've had Joe McCoy, Aaron Campman at the end of his career, but he's the best player I've ever coached.
What's it like going against Patrick Mahomes in practice every day? God almighty.
People have asked me that. Every day in practice, especially in training camp and in the offseason when you're working against a one offense, there's, Spags will slow the projecting down and the film and say, I mean, how do you stop that?
What are we supposed to do?
I mean, he just gets out of trouble.
Yeah.
He just backhanded passes, flips, no look, whatever you want to call it. He can just get out of it. He's a magician out there.
What's Andy Reid like? Doug Peterson and I've gotten to be pretty good buddies, and he really likes him. What's Andy like?
Well, first of all, there's nobody better. He's a Hall of Fame coach. I mean, look at his track record in Philadelphia, and then obviously now in Kansas City. But he's the same guy every day. He's the same guy every day, whether you win, lose, win by 20, lose by 20. He's the same guy. He's steady. He's the rock of the whole organization.
Joe, what was it like the whole Super Bowl, the week, the leading, and the nerves? I mean, it's the Super Bowl, for God's sake. I mean, what was it like? And you're defending you and Spags and your staff is defending Jalen Hurts and a damn good offense too.
Well, getting in the game, getting through. Obviously, Jacksonville was a tough game in the division round. Then Cincinnati, who had beaten us 3 straight times, and it was like getting through that. And then it was like, okay, we're on to the Super Bowl. And then looking at what Philadelphia had done all year, it was one of those things where we just had to try to do what we did well as a team.
Yeah.
Nothing changed. And then basically trying to slow their run game down. And we were able to do that. And Jalen still had a heck of a game, but we were able to make some stops when we had to make stops. And, in the second half, we kind of flipped the script. We ran the ball on them. We stopped the run, made the big stop, and offensively, we just did a great job as well.
When you beat Cincinnati, the most important question I'll ask you is: did at any point you talk any smack to Duffner? Did you send at least a smack text?
Did not.
Not one. You're too nice a guy.
No, we're dear friends, and as you know Duff well. And
just saw Duff the other day.
Yeah, there was no. It was one of those games where it came down to the last drive, and whoever had the ball last, and whoever made the last stop. We were fortunate. We got a sack. Chris made the sack on Burrow, and then Patrick couldn't run, but yet he found a way to run and get the first down, and then kicked the field goal and won the game.
And the late hit helped. The
late hit helped.
The late hit helped a little.
It was a late hit.
Yeah, well, there's no question it was a late hit. It was a late hit. You had to talk to Duff though.
Oh, absolutely.
He's your guy.
Yeah, we talked right after the game, wished us well, and wished them a great year, and then talked after the Super Bowl. Duff went to the Super Bowl last year, and I had never been, and Duff had never been.
Right.
Duff was a play away from winning it.
I know. And
then obviously being back in the AFC Championship game, and then. It's like when you get in that game, Frank, there's no way you want to lose it. And when that friends of mine that have been in the game said, there's nothing like it when you win.
Yeah.
And especially when that last second ticks off the clock.
Joe Cullen with us, the former Jags defensive coordinator a couple years ago, and now the defensive line coach for the Kansas City Chiefs. The target's on your chest. I mean, you guys, you're the Chiefs. You're Mahomes and Andy Reid, and I mean, what's that like? I mean, you're on top of the top of the mountain, and you know that though.
Well, no, going in, you're going to get the best of everybody every week.
Yeah.
So you look at the last 5 years, been in the AFC Championship game, third Super Bowl in 4 years, winning 2. So every week you get the opponent's best. It's their big game. You're going to get their best, and our players obviously know that, and you just grind. It's a grind every week.
Yeah. Let's talk about Jacksonville a little bit. You were able to keep up as best you could. I mean, you're coaching in the league, so you can't watch football like the rest of the folks can. But what was your impression of the Jaguars? You saw them obviously twice this year. What was your impression of this team?
Well, we played them twice.
Yeah.
And obviously some common opponents in there, and they, it was one of those years where the new staff, they were able to. Trevor did a lot of great things. As the first time we played him, it was still a tight game, 1 by 10. And I think at that point, Frank, they were 2-7.
Yeah, that's right.
After that game, then they had a bye.
Maybe 3-7. Yeah,
3-7. Yeah, they were 3-7. So because they had just beaten the Raiders.
Right.
They were 3-7 and just had the bye. And then you saw things starting to come together. I mean, offensively, they had a lot of guys really step up. Trevor really stepped up, had a phenomenal year for his second year, and they started making plays on defense, and then they get to be a team that you didn't really want to face at that time of year. And obviously, the game against the Chargers was one for the ages. I mean, they were out of the game.
Right.
Game over, and then sure enough, they scored on every possession, made stops on every possession, and they did a great job. Coach Peterson, proven track record, Super Bowl winning coach. I mean, he's understudy of Coach Reed, played for Coach Reed, coached for Coach Reed. Yeah. And it was only a matter of time. You let your draft picks and you get the people in there, and you started making a few changes on offense. ETN was a guy that when I was there we drafted, but he got hurt in August.
Right, never got to play. Yep.
Ingram came in, did a phenomenal job. Kirk came in, did a great job. So they got some playmakers on offense.
When you look back now, you're at a good place. You got a Super Bowl and who knows how many more. The Jags are at a good place. It was a great year too, Joe, and it was a lot of people that you know very well, that I know very well, that deserve some good. Shad deserved good. I know how much you like Shad. He deserved it.
Oh, absolutely. In fact, I ran into Tony after our game in the hallway of my wife, and big hug. And I've known Tony a long time since I was at Illinois with Coach Zook. You're a dear friend.
That's right.
And then Shad. I mean, I was great for Shad and the team and the city. Guys like yourself, Jeff Lagerman, Tony Baselli, all those guys that deserve to have something good happen. And you know what? It's only going to continue.
Having said all that, how hard was that year? How hard was that year for you? I mean, you're a football coach, and you're a ball coaching dude. Well, how hard was that year?
Well, going in, we were coming off a year. The prior year, 1-15. So it was like, okay, what are we going to do to improve? How can we get better?
Yeah.
And it was a tough year. We had some moments in there, had some injuries. But it was tough. It was a grind. And I tell you what was great about that year is the way the guys finished when we beat the Colts to keep them out of the playoffs and dominated them on defense. Trevor had his best game of the year. We had our moments beating Buffalo 9-6. Still think it's the lowest points they've had in a long time. But it was a tough year. But you go through those years. Yeah. And when you go through those years, you appreciate the ones that I just went through and the guys on the Jaguar team now.
Were there frustrations for you? Because I thought, given what you were playing, I'm not saying this because you're sitting here. You and I talk a lot offline. Given what you were playing with, I thought the defense held its own that year, and yet it was still a really hard year. Was that frustrating for that reason?
Well, you can only do what your players can do, and the thing about that, Frank, is like when you're a defensive coach, you can't control what the offense does. You can't control what special teams does. You can only control what your guys do, and you try to do the best that you can.
Right.
And we wanted a few more. You look at that year, Cincinnati game, 23-20, last second field goal.
Right.
We had the ball in the one before the half. It's going to be 21-0. They stopped us on 4 straight on the half-inch line.
I remember.
So, there's some games like that. Okay, we go to London. We kick the field goal there that right before. I mean, bang play. We stop them. We get the ball. Last second, spike it, kick the field goal, win that one. And then you look at some games we lost that year. So the Jets game. You know, we didn't play a particularly great team game, but, well, is the ball over? Maybe it is.
Yeah.
Okay, everyone says that was a touchdown. They didn't rule it.
Yeah.
You look at that. You look at the other, you know, the first Indy game. You know, there was some games in there I thought we could have won, could have, should have, would have. But now you're looking at maybe 6 wins.
Yeah.
And we knew it was going to be a rough year going in, but I just think sometimes the ball doesn't bounce your way. Maybe certain injuries, the way things went, you know, in terms of the year. There was some frustration. But, no, I don't regret anything about that year in Jacksonville.
Joe, is it your goal to be a coordinator again? Is that the plan? Right now you just keep coaching your really good football team, right?
No, exactly right. I mean, there was opportunities possibly to interview, but, you know, you're in a playoff hunt and you're coaching your guys. I just love being the defensive line coach right now with the Chiefs. And someday that possibly could happen, and I'd be excited to do that again.
In the meantime, you live in Sawgrass at least part of the year, right? So how's that work? Well, how long do you get to come home to where we are?
Well, you know, I know my wife's already said that when the girls are out of school, she'll be down there.
She's
and
going.
I'll be coming after me. At least, you know, summertime, the whole summer when we're off, and then when you have vacations. But no, that's a great place, and we're going to keep our residents down there. Joe,
congratulations on the Super Bowl. You're a class guy and a damn good football coach, and I was really happy for you. I wasn't happy for you when you beat us twice, but once those moved on, I was really happy for you.
No, thank you, Frank, and thanks for having me on.
Joe Cullen, the defensive line coach of the Kansas City Chiefs, former coordinator of the Jags. Back in a moment from Indianapolis on 1010XL and 92.5 FM.